welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a novel that's, well, it's not just a little weird. It's a book that looks at the rules of storytelling and just decides to light them all on fire. So, the story kicks off with what seems like a pretty straightforward idea. We meet this guy, James Orion, who is an absolute master of the bluff. His entire career is built on it. And now, he's at his final exam to become a top-tier military spy. Everything is riding on this one conversation. But here's the twist. This isn't your typical spy test. Now, this isn't about cracking codes or sneaking around. To pass, Orion has to go up against a man who doesn't just bend the rules of reality, he lives in a completely different one. And that brings us to this guy, Gerald Warren Sr. He is the agent of chaos at the very center of this whole thing. His opening line to Orion isn't some secret code or a clever trick. Nope. It's just pure, unfiltered gibberish. And that really sets the tone for everything that's about to happen. So yeah, Orion figures out pretty fast that this spy test has nothing to do with being a spy. It's just a deep dive into pure absurdity, all orchestrated by Gerald.
I mean, look at this stuff. None of it has anything to do with spying. It feels like it's all designed to just break your brain. He has to sit through a poem about killer donuts, argue with Gerald about whether apples are a real thing, and then just watch as Gerald calmly eats his own eyeglasses before pulling out a spare pair. And it just gets weirder, ending with them making soup out of a vacuum cleaner he smashed with a sledgehammer.
And the soup? Gerald is incredibly proud of it. His secret ingredient, by the way. A painting he shredded with a chainsaw he randomly found inside a microwave. Yeah, apparently it tasted like earwax and burnt hair. Delicious. Okay, but if you think those tests were weird, that was just the appetizer. Just when you're starting to get a handle on the strangeness, the story does something you'd never expect. It just breaks. Suddenly, they're in the middle of an alien invasion at Area 51. The aliens are called the Gorgonzolites, and in all the chaos, a plasma blast hits Katie. Now, Katie's this advanced robot who's really become the heart of the group, and boom, she's gone. And this is where things get really weird. Gerald is just completely broken up about it. He's furious. But he's not just yelling at the aliens. He turns and starts yelling at the author of the actual book we're reading, this guy named Nigel T. Fick. I'm not kidding. This is the exact moment the story just flies completely off the rails. Gerald literally climbs out of the pages of the book, finds the author sitting at his desk, shoves him out of the way, and rewrites the chapter himself. Then he just jumps right back in, and now Katie was never destroyed and is in fact indestructible. The characters are officially in charge of their own story now. The wall is gone. So, with the rules of reality just completely out the window, the whole spy test thing gets thrown away. The story becomes this whirlwind tour of the most random places and events you can possibly imagine. And I mean, there is zero logic to any of this. They go from fighting aliens in Area 51 to a planet that gets destroyed by a really loud shout. Then they're riding a talking meteor named Cowboy across the Sahara, then building an ice palace in Antarctica, and they end up in Paris, where Gerald gets a little hungry and decides to eat the Eiffel Tower. The plot? What plot? It's just one bizarre gag after another. You've got them playing poker with a lion that talks, making sandwiches out of the actual spoken word witch. At one point, they literally swim through the vacuum of space to get back to Earth. In this world, anything goes. So, where does all this lead? Well, the climax has nothing to do with spies or aliens. It's all about Gerald's final, absolutely epic transformation, right there in the middle of Paris. So, remember how Gerald ate the Eiffel Tower? Well, it comes to life, and it is not happy. It goes on a rampage, and in the most tragic, ironic twist, it destroys Katie. Again, the indestructible robot. And that is the final straw for Gerald. This is it. Pure rage just takes over. He transforms, creating a full suit of armor. Out of a watermelon, he becomes the Watermelon Knight. And for his battle cry, he just screams the title of the book and charges in, taking down the sentient tower all by himself. But wait, the Eiffel Tower wasn't the real final boss. Turns out there's been a headhunter chasing our heroes this whole time, and now he finally makes his move. So the stage is set for this massive final battle, right? The ultimate bad guy is a 30-foot-tall, fire-breathing werewolf named Norman Rockwell. And who steps up to fight this monster? A tiny little chipmunk named Wedge. who Gerald has apparently just been carrying around in his pocket.
And in what has to be the most perfectly nonsensical moment in the entire book, the huge, epic showdown is over before it starts. The chipmunk, Wedge, just eats the giant werewolf. In one bite. Problem solved.
And just like that, it's over. The book just says the end. No reflection, no wrapping up Orion's spy story, nothing. Just Gerald immediately suggesting they all go on a boat trip.
So, what are we supposed to make of all this? Muplion, Purtigop, Flopincob isn't really a story about plot or character development or, well, anything really. It's more of an experiment in just pure, joyful chaos. It asks what a story can be when it's totally unchained from logic. And it reminds us that, sometimes, the whole point of a story is to have no point at all.